Daily Life in a Covered Wagon by Paul Erickson, pages 18 and 19. On the trail. With no springs or cushioned seats, the Larkins' wagon was far too uncomfortable to ride in. Most of the pioneers traveled the 2,000 miles of the Oregon Trail on foot. If it rained, they simply put on oilskin ponchos or unfurled umbrellas and marched on. They did not have to walk fast, however, since the wagons lumbered along at the rate of only 1 or 2 miles per hour. Children who got tired might hitch a short ride on the wagon tongue. Sick people who had to ride in the wagon were put on feather beds and paddled around with pillows to relieve the worst jolting. Mr. Larkin walks alongside his oxen, shouting commands like, "Gee, go right," and "Haw, go left." He carries a bullwhip which he cracks over their heads to tell them which way to go, and sometimes he uses it to flick flies away from their ears, but he never hits them with it. The pioneers considered it very bad to strike the oxen. Like many pioneer farmers, Mr. Larkin has given his oxen names: Dick, Tom, Hob, Sam, Tip, and Dobie. Above, men's boots were made with no distinction between right and left, so they were very large. Matt Belknap likes to shave whenever he gets the chance in order to show off his dashing mustache. His shaving kit is very precious, as it was one of the few things left to him by his father. Mr. Larkin's beard not only requires little care, but also gives him extra protection from the sun. Below in the picture, a man's felt hat, woolen undershirt, and linen trousers. Men's clothes. Like most of the men in the wagon train, Mr. Larkin wears the same clothes, day in, day out. Even though it is midsummer, he wears a long-sleeved flannel shirt with a woolen undershirt beneath and trousers of wool or linen, or a mixture of the two, called linsey-woolsey. Wool, as the guidebooks noted, offered good protection against the midday sun, the rain, or any sudden changes in temperature. Denim, which is often associated with the West, came into wide use only in the 1870s. On Mr. Larkin's feet are stout boots that give good protection against snake bites. He also wears a broad-brimmed hat to keep the sun off his head and face, with no sunglasses or sunscreen. This was very important. Women's clothes. Mrs. Larkin walks beside the wagon. Like her husband, she usually dresses in wool, though if the weather is very good, she may wear checked gingham. Her skirt is hemmed an inch or two higher than would have thought proper back then, to make it easier for her to walk over the rough ground. Mrs. Larkin also wears an apron, partly to keep her dress clean, and partly because she, like everyone else at the time, considers the apron to be the right thing for a proper married woman, that is, a housewife, to wear. Although she does not have many clothes for the trip and has few chances for washing, Mrs. Larkin makes a point of wearing a neat, light-colored apron on special occasions. Her only regret is that she cannot starch it properly, as she would have back in Indiana. She always wears a sunbonnet to protect her face. Rachel's clothing is much like her mother's, but because of her delicate health, she usually rides on horseback, sitting with her skirts carefully pulled down to cover her ankles. Rachel feels envious of the more daring women in the party who are wearing bloomers.